let's go to the first lesson, Learn from Imaging Outcomes, to reinforce the importance of domain definition as a foundation for instrument selection. The choice of the target domain, the what, requires a good understanding and explicitation of the broad domain. It means the manifestation of interest, and the specification of the target domain and its measurable components. Here you can see the box framework: the core area, the broad domain, the manifestation of interest, the target domain, and the domain components. How to apply this boxes framework? First, let's go to the domain's perspective. For the imaging outcome measurement instruments, the core area of interest is the manifestation of abnormalities. Let's take an example of broad domain. For example, what we want to measure is the inflammation. Within the inflammation, what is our target domain? What we really want to focus on? An example could be synovitis. Then try to understand which are the domain components of this target domain that we can actually measure. For example, the synovitis elementary component. If we go now to apply the imaging techniques and to see if this match with the target domain, this requires first the verification that the technique that we have chosen detects enough target domain components, for example, ultrasound. We have again here the domain perspective boxes, manifestation abnormalities core area. What we want to measure is the inflammation. What we focus on is the synovitis, our target domain. What we can actually measure is the synovitis elementary components. Let's take a look from the technique perspective. The inflammation is the joint inflammation detectable by ultrasound. The synovitis is the aspect of the synovitis detectable by ultrasound. And then within these detectable lesion, which are the elementary components that can really be measured by ultrasound. And if we look at the choice of the instrument, the scoring system within the technique, this requires that the instruments, the scoring system we have chosen, has valid and reliable definition of the target domain and elementary components. This is still the technique perspective. Just take a look at the instrument perspective. We are again in the manifestation abnormalities and the joint inflammation detected by ultrasound. For the target domain, we have to verify what it is called the theoretical definition, the definition of the target domain according to the technique. In that case, we can use synovial thickening and increase blood flow. Now, what can be really measured by ultrasound? And these are the domain components. The definition of the domain components is called operational definition. In that case, these explain what we can really see by ultrasound. For example, the hypoechoic synovial hypertrophy, the increase of the blood flow measured by the Doppler signal within this synovial hypertrophy. Just for making a parallel with something that is well known by the OMERACT group, the PRO example. These boxes can be applied whatever the instruments. Just take a look at the domain perspective. In that case, the core area is, for example, the life impact. Then we have to choose the technique that permits us to study a domain of interest, a broad domain within this core area. For example, we want to study the pain impact. In that case, our technique will be the pain impact detectable by a questionnaire. Then we have to choose the target domain. For example, the impact of pain on important tasks of daily activities. In that case, our target domain will be the impact on pain on daily life activity that can be really detectable by this questionnaire. And the domain components could be, for example, the level of difficulties to do something due to pain. In that case, the question related that will cover the domain components will be the question about the level of difficulties. For example, as pain made it difficult to bath or shower or whatever. So, for recapitulating this lesson, the importance of domain definition for domain match, the imaging outcome has helped us to see the detail required in the definition of our target domain. First, we have to define our manifestation of interest, our broad domain. Then we have to find in this broad domain the specification of our target domain, what we really focus on, and then to identify also the measurable components of that target domain. The same process applies also to non-imaging domains. The buckets approach provides a template for the assessment of our content validity, the match with our target domain.